Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss Lady Macbeth's speech prescribed for degree 4th SEM English prose lesson. And this video is in response to the request made by one of the students and hope you are listening to it. Okay, in this lesson, Lady Macbeth's speech, we will be discussing first about the author, then background to the story, then the lesson explanation, that is paraphrasing Lady Macbeth's speech, and then we will solve some of the comprehension questions. Okay, first about the author. William Shakespeare, born in 1564 and died in 1616, is perhaps the most famous dramatist in the English language. His plays and poetry are read, studied, and performed the world over. His works span many genres and have a universal appeal. Genre means themes. Having been translated into every major language and adapted for stage, screen, and other media, more frequently than that of any writer. Some of his most famous plays are Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth, Midsummer's Night Dream, The Merchant of Venice, and The Tempest, etc. And a little bit of background to the story before we move into the lesson. Macbeth was a commander and the theme of Glamis in the court of Duncan, the king of Scotland. Thane means he was a noble man who held lands like Zamidar. Thane of Cawdor from Norway invades the Scottish army, and Macbeth defeats the invading army. On his way back home after the triumphant battle, he is met by three witches who prophesy that he shall become the first prophecy that he will become the Thane of Cawdor, the one who has revolted against the king, and Macbeth defeated him. So he is going to become the Thane of Cawdor, it seems, according to the three witches' prophecy. These are the three witches. See, he's returning from the battlefield very triumphantly, and then the witches meet him. Witches, the ladies or the one who make black magic or who tell the future, who tell the oracles, and then in Hindi we call them churels. Okay, Mantragattelu. In Telugu we call them Mantragattelu. So these are the three witches who tell about the future of Macbeth when he was returning from the battlefield. First they tell that he would become the Thane of Cawdor, and then he would become the King of Scotland, which is very, very surprising to Macbeth because already Duncan was there as the King of Scotland. So he had no idea, or he had no intention of becoming the King of Scotland, but the witches tell the future that he was going to become the King of Scotland. And look at the way his state of mind changes. They disappear. They means the witches disappear before Macbeth could ask them any questions. Actually, Macbeth wanted to ask them questions, but they disappear. Almost immediately afterwards, Macbeth finds out that the Scottish king, that is Duncan, has made him the Thane of Cawdor. Immediately, the moment the witches disappear, a messenger comes and tells him that he was announced as the Thane of Cawdor. Thane is a very high order, a rank order in the court of king. Astonished, Macbeth sends a letter to his wife informing her about the witch's predictions. So he could not wait till he reaches home. He immediately writes a letter and sends to his wife. This scene, the lesson now we are going to discuss, begins with Lady Macbeth reading her husband's letter and anticipating his arrival. So now the lesson begins. Look at the woman's mind, how it plays many games. Okay, so Macbeth is intrigued by the possibility that the remainder of the witch's prophecy that he will be crowned the king might be true, but he is uncertain what to expect. He visits with King Duncan, and they plan to dine together at Inverness. Inverness is Macbeth's castle's name. So where Macbeth lives, his castle. so Macbeth's castle that night. So the Duncan comes to congratulate Macbeth to his castle, and both of them dine together. And what plans they have to become the king, Macbeth and Macbeth's wife, what plans they hatch in the castle. Let's see that. So, Lady Macbeth suffers none of her husband's uncertainty. She desires the kinship for him and wants him to murder Duncan in order to obtain it. Look at the lady's plan, because she truly believes the witches' prophets and she thinks that her husband is going to become the king. But when Duncan is alive, he cannot become the king. Anyway, Duncan is coming to their castle to enjoy, to rejoice the battle or the winning of the battle against Norway's Thane. So she plans to kill the king Duncan. And she suffers none of her husband's uncertainty. Husband Macbeth has got some kind of hesitation, but Lady Macbeth does not have any kind of hesitation. That is the meaning of suffers none of her husband's uncertainty. When Macbeth arrives at Inverness, that is their castle, she overrides all of her husband's objections and persuades him to kill the king that very night. That is her plan, students. Okay. Now the lesson. There is a small pre-reading task you all have to get involved. Two questions you have to try to answer, students. Do you believe in destiny? The idea that our lives are determined in advance by some divine will or fate? Or do you believe that your future is the result of human actions and chance events? Which of these two seem more comforting to you and why? You have to discuss. The end justifies the means. Do you agree with this statement? Work with a partner and note down a few points both in favor of and against the statement. So if you believe it, put it in your comment box. Do you believe it? What is the meaning of this statement? The end justifies the means. End means the consequence, the result. It justifies the means, means the way you do it. So your actions are the results of your fate or your future. So this is the meaning of this statement, and if you really believe in this statement, put it in the comment box, students. Okay. Now we are moving into the lesson. Inverness is the Macbeth's castle. Enter Macbeth's wife alone with a letter. There is a letter in her hand, the letter which is written by Macbeth. And before we move into the lesson, I want you to focus your attention to these ancient words. Thee, thou, thy. These are all ancient words meaning you. For pronoun you, they used to write like thee, thou, and thy. So they met me in the day of success. This is a letter. She's reading out the letter. They met me in the day of success. They means here the witches. So he's telling that the witches met me in the day of success, and I have learned by the perfectest report. They have more in them than the mortal knowledge. Mortal knowledge means human knowledge. So these witches are beyond our knowledge and they know the future very well. And he truly believes in them. And he says that when I burned in desire to question them further, when they told that he was going to become the Thane of Cawdor and the King of Scotland, he was so desperate to question them. But they made themselves air. Making themselves air means they vanished, into which they vanished. Whilst I stood wrapped in the wonder of it, means he was so surprised and he was in a trance. Wrapped means trance, in wonder of it. Came missives. Missives means the messages. Immediately, soon after the witches vanished, the messengers came from the king and who all hailed me. They greeted him, calling him as Thane of Cawdor. That means already the king has announced him as a gift because he won the battle and he proved his loyalty to the king of Scotland. So immediately the king ordered and he designated him as the Thane of Cawdor, by which title before these weird sisters means again the three sisters saluted me. They have greeted him as Thane of Cawdor. and referred me to the coming on of time with hail, king that shall be. That means you are going to be the king of Scotland. This have I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of greatness. So he is addressing his wife as the dearest partner of greatness. Than that thou mightst not lose the dues of rejoicing. Thou means you. So you should also enjoy. You need not wait till I reach home. So that's why I'm writing this letter. Enjoy the news. By being ignorant of what greatness is promised thee. So you should not be ignorant of this great news. You should know it. That's why I'm writing this letter. Lay it to thy heart and farewell. Lay it to thy heart means keep it to your heart. Don't reveal this news to anyone. And farewell. So Glam is thou art and Cawdor and shall be. So now she's thinking. First he was the Thane of Glamis. Now he became the Thane of Cawdor. So she's telling that, oh, you have become the Cawdor already. So she's imagining. And then, what thou art promised, yet do I fear thy nature. Okay, as the witches promised you, or the witches told, you have become the Thane of Cawdor. Now the next step is you should become the king of Scotland. Yet do I fear thy nature. What is his nature? He doesn't have any kind of illness in his heart. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great. So the nearest way is to become cruel. You have to kill the king, but you don't have that much courage. You are so mild. You have completely human kindness in you. She's thinking about her husband, and not without ambition. You don't have any greed in your heart, you don't have any ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, that thou wouldst holily. So if that cruelty is not there in you, and you are completely filled this with holily. Holily means illness is wickedness, and this holily means righteousness. You have purity in your heart. With this purity, you cannot become the king. Wouldst not play false. You will not play any kind of false. You do not have any false ideas in your mind. And yet wouldst wrongly win that thou dost have great Glamis. So you are the Thane of Glamis now. But you cannot win something wrongly. That which cries, thus thou must do if thou have it. You must do it. And that which rather thou dost fear to do. So wherever thou comes, you have to take it as you. Than wishes should be undone, hie thee hither. Hie thee hither means come faster, come quickly to our home. I'm waiting for you. I have a plan for you. She's hatching a plan in her mind, and she's so eager, she's so desperate to tell that plan to her husband. That I may pour my spirits in thine ear. My strength, my spirits, I'm going to fill your ear. I'm going to tell my plan to you, and chastise with valor, the valor of my tongue. Chastise means I'm going to scold you, reprimand you, and I'm going to be little bit harsh with you, okay, with my tongue, and scold you all that impedes thee from the golden ground. Why I'm going to be so rigid and so a kind of reprimanding you. Why do I do it? Because I want to remove all those hurdles. Impeach means hurdles, the you from the golden ground. Do you know what is the golden ground? Can you guess, students, what is the golden ground? It is nothing but uh, the crown of the Scotland, that she wants to be adorned her husband's head. So to get that, she's going to scold him and remove the fear from him, which fate and metaphysical and doth seem to have thee crowned with all. So metaphysical means the supernatural beings. The three witches have already told that you are going to become the king. So you should not hesitate now. With all means with you are going to be decorated with that crown. The raven himself is hoarse. The raven is a black bird like crow. which is the sign of a bad omen that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan. So crow also has come. It is going to tell something, something which is going to a tragic which is going to happen. That is tragic is nothing but the killing of the king Duncan. Duncan has announced that he is going to visit the Macbeths to celebrate the victory. Under my battlements come. So already the bird has come to the battlements are the nothing but the roof of the balcony. You can see the bird over there. This indicates the bad omen that Duncan is going to be killed. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, you come, unsex me here. This is a very tricky word, students. All if you pay attention, unsex means here I'm going to change my gender, means emotionally. Now I am a woman. Woman is actually stereotypically known for kindness and very loving and all. But now I'm not going to have any kindness in my heart. I'm going to change my emotional sex. That means I'm going to become a manly person and fill me from crown to toe. That means head to toe, top full of direst cruelty. Cruelty is the sign of man, but now I'm going to change my womanly nature to manly nature. That's what she's desperately waiting, and she's asking Macbeth to come fast to their home, students. So this is the summary of your lesson which is given in your textbook. Now we are moving on to the comprehension questions. This is unsex means remove gender features, stereotypical features which are assigned to male and female differently. So first question, these are the comprehension questions. Do you think that Macbeth believes the predictions? Justify your answer with evidence from the text. Shakespeare is a creative genius. Out of all the 37 plays he wrote, from 15th to 16th century, he wrote 37 plays, students. Remember those days, no entertainment like movies and all. So these authors used to write stage plays and the actors used to play on the stage. The theaters would be there and all the people, they used to go to spend their leisure time over there in the theaters, theater plays. Even now they are there, students. So Macbeth is one of the most popular tragedies because it ends in death. King Duncan is killed. That's why it is called as a tragedy from his pen. The present selection is an extract from his tragedy. Macbeth is on his way home from the battlefield. He is very happy at his victory over Norway. All of a sudden, three witches appear before him. They hail him as the Thane of Cawdor. They also say that he shall be the King of Scotland. And before Macbeth could ask them a question, they disappear into the air. The very next moment, messengers from the king inform Macbeth that the king has appointed him the Thane of Cawdor. That is the proof that the witch's prediction has already come true partially. So Macbeth believes in their prophecy. Wonderstruck, Macbeth instantly informs his dear wife of the great developments. He writes a letter and sends it to the wife. Second question, paraphrase in your own words. Paraphrase means write the meaning. The entire lesson is written in very ancient English, archaic English, students. So the contents of the Macbeth's letter to his wife. Why does Macbeth write to his wife about the events instead of telling her after he reaches home? He could go home and tell, but he also gets so desperate and he writes a letter, and the letter reaches before he reaches home. The prescribed scene opens with a letter. It is from Macbeth to his wife. Macbeth is drenching in the success he achieves against Norway. He is thrilled. Exciting him further, three witches meet him on his way back home. They greet him as the Thane of Cawdor. Adding to his surprise, they say that Macbeth will become the King of Scotland. And before Macbeth asks them a question, they disappear into the air. Piquing his astonishment, servants from the king say to him that he is the new Thane of Cawdor. Wonderstruck, Macbeth instantly informs his dear wife of the great developments. He says that his wife shall not miss this news for a second. So he writes that letter. Third question, what does Lady Macbeth fear about her husband's nature? Usually, you know the state of mind of women students. They are emotionally strong, maybe physically weak, but women are emotionally strong. And the vice versa with men. Men are physically strong, but emotionally they are weak. I think many of you can understand that. Nowadays, you can see girls are very stronger in maintaining the relationships or breaking up the relationship. They are no more weaker sex. Before they are called they used to be called as weaker sex, but now they appear to be very strong. That's my personal view, students. No personal comments to anyone. Okay, Lady Macbeth is very shrewd. The witch's prophecy kindles in her a series of tricks and plans. The moment she comes to know that he is announced Thane of Cawdor, the tricks and plans are started in her mind. Ambition for Macbeth's kingship grows in her exponentially, means without any limits, along with her desire to increase fears in her about her husband's nature. Along with her desire, do increase fears in her about her husband's nature. No wonder she is excited about the prophecy, the witches announced that he is going to become the king of Scotland, but at the same time she is worried about the husband's nature. He is not that strong. She knows well that Macbeth is very kind, loyal to his king, and just in his behavior. She strongly believes that good nature and high positions do not go together. If you want to go high position, you should not have good nature, it seems, according to Lady Macbeth. She asserts that achieving some goals needs a certain amount of illness, that is cruelty. She declares that holy paths do not lead one to golden crowns. She promises to pour her valor into the heart of Macbeth. That means she is going to tell, pour means tell into his ears. She thus decides what needs to be done and how. Next question. What is the golden round that she refers to? What impedes Macbeth from it? Impedes means stops, hurdles, obstacles. Lady Macbeth is very shrewd. The witch's prophecy kindles in her a series of tricks and plans. She refers the crown of Scotland as the golden ground. The three witches predict that Macbeth would become the king of Scotland. Lady Macbeth wants to see it happen at any cost. She worries about the absence of the illness, that is cruelty in Macbeth, that is needed to accomplish any remarkable goal. She states Macbeth knows what he wants. He is aware of what is required on his part to get what is due. Yet, he is too afraid to do what he should and what he can. This weak spot in Macbeth impedes his ascent to the throne. She strongly believes that if he is weak, he cannot get the throne. And Lady Macbeth is determined to correct that weakness. She is ready to go to any extent. So this is the last question, student. These three questions can be answered in the same manner. What kind of relationship do you think Macbeth and Lady Macbeth share with each other? How can you tell the wife and husband relation? What is your impression of Lady Macbeth based on reading the lesson? Or what does Lady Macbeth tell us about her husband's nature? Shakespeare is a creative genius with unmatching peers. No author during his reign or during his time was as genius as Shakespeare stood. Even now, we do not come across a genius author like Shakespeare. His works attract attention from laymen to learned critics. Both the learned and unlearned men can understand and enjoy his writings. Macbeth is one of the most moving tragedies Shakespeare penned. Penned means written. It depicts the villainy of of Lady Macbeth's character. Lady Macbeth and Macbeth love each other very much. They are eager to please each other. This is clear from Macbeth's letter. There, he addresses her as my dearest partner of greatness. So this tells that he loves her very much. He affirms that she might not lose the dues of rejoicing. So that's why immediately he wants her husband, his wife to enjoy the news. That's why he writes a letter. He advises her to lay it to her heart. So he cautions her not to reveal the secret. And Lady Macbeth's words repeatedly assert her strong desire to see Macbeth on the throne. She wants to see him on the throne, and he also takes care of his wife. She goes to any extent to meet this goal. Her sole aim is to ensure that Macbeth is crowned with the crown. He should become the king of Scotland. While each of them is interested on the other's happiness, They appear to be unaware of what real happiness is. Lady Macbeth miserably fails in knowing what brings that real happiness. She doesn't understand the consequences. Lady Macbeth is very shrewd. She is greedy too. She is ambitious. She believes in ends. Ends means the results, the consequences. She is least worried about the fairness of the means adopted, means the plans or the modes adopted. She declares rather boldly that certain amount of illness is required to attain success. To see her husband as the king, she is prepared to unsex herself. That means she is going to change her mental state. Means she is not going to act like a woman, she is going to act like a man. She invites cruelty. She fails to foresee how the witch's prophecy is buying troubles for them and to those all around them. So there are troubles. If you read the entire story or watch the movie, you will understand what troubles they face, students. Lady Macbeth thinks that she can judge others. She highlights the weak nature of her husband. She has no right to pinpoint her husband, but she pinpoints her husband and declares him as a weak person. So she says Macbeth is too kind to get his dues. She adds that he believes in holy ways to reach high positions. She declares that Macbeth lacks that desirable illness to achieve one's goals. She states that Macbeth knows what he should do to get what is due to him, but is afraid of doing that. Thus, she pictures her husband. She has that image of her husband. Okay, students. So this is about your lesson, Lady Macbeth speech, students. It is only one scene from one act. That's all. It is a very larger piece of play. You can read it. Those who are interested, you can read after your examinations. It's very interesting. Okay, so hope you understood the lesson now and prepare well for your examinations. Okay, all the best. If you have any doubts, you can just comment in the comment section, students, and try to answer the first reading task I gave you. Okay, the pre-reading task. You have to answer that, and let me see how many of you will put it in the comment box. Thanks for watching, and if this tutorial had made sense, please like, share, and do not forget to subscribe. That means a lot for me. Okay, bye bye for now, and let's meet up in the next video. Bye, take care.